Psalm 140 is the third in a series of 8 psalms of David that come near the end of the Psalter. The occasion for this psalm is the existence of violent conspiracies, evil men who are trying to kill David, to trap him, to destroy him, to bring him down. As such, it's classified as a lament, as David utters his complaint to God, and then also as an imprecatory psalm because he makes some curses regarding his enemies. So you can see where this fits into this Davidic group of psalms as the second of a series of 6 prayers framed by royal psalms that exalt God as the King of all kings and as the great King of the earth. You can see in this psalm the selahs that are there at the end of each segment. These help to divide the psalm. They seem to work pretty well, suggesting a natural division of the poetry here. There's a series of requests: deliver me, guard me, preserve me. We see in the first movement the evil men, the violent men who plan evil things, who stir up wars. And then in the second stanza here, they are like hunters who set a snare, a trap, a net, where the first group are like snakes, the second group are like hunters. So both metaphors for individuals who want to do you harm. Note that verse 3 is quoted by Romans 3:13, where Paul is listing the characteristics of humanity. Like this is a universal human capacity to do evil. It's just a thing that humans excel at, and they will use words, they will lie, they will deceive, they will conspire. So not a very flattering picture of humanity, but this is what David is facing, could be in his role as king. If you're the top dog, often people are wanting to overthrow you. Could have been that. It could have been later in his life when he had made for himself a lot of enemies through some of his bad decisions and poor behavior. At any rate, David is feeling like he is being unjustly set upon by his enemies. And so this is the basis of his complaint. So he prays that his enemies would not succeed, that God would hear his voice. And he is reminded in verse 7 that the Lord is the strength and his salvation. You've covered my head in the day of battle. That would be a reference to his protection. You're like a helmet that has shielded me again and again. So grant not the desires of the wicked. Do not further their evil plot, or they will be exalted. This phrase, where they will be exalted, is what I would call motivation when praying in a lament, motivating, where David is trying to motivate God to act on his behalf. He says, if you don't act, God, then my enemies will be exalted. The wicked will be exalted, and we wouldn't want that, would we? So verse 9 through 11 give us the curse, the imprecation. As for the head of those who surround me, again, notice the contrast with David's head, verse 7, versus the head of the one conspiring against him. Let the mischief of their lips, verses 1 through 3, overwhelm them. Let burning coals fall upon them. Let them be cast into fire, into miry pits, no more to rise. Let not the slanderer be established in the land. Let evil hunt down the violent man speedily. This curse of David's enemies might make us think of the psalm that came right before it, Psalm 139, in the verses 19 through 21. In those verses, David is praying that those men that curse God would themselves be cursed. And David joins in his lot with God and says, hey, you come after God, you got to go through me. So it could be that this connects in that way. Maybe that's why this psalm was arranged here immediately after Psalm 139. What verses 9 through 11, I believe, are showing is just this whole concept of justice. David is convinced that God is just, and so when someone does evil, it's only logical and natural that evil would come upon them. If they try to harm someone, then it's only right that harm would come to them. It's what people, commonly call karma today. When you do something bad to someone else, there is a sense that, hey, something bad should happen to you, and we kind of feel good when that happens. to someone, right? If we're watching a movie and there's a story about an evil person, we really want them to receive punishment. We want them to get what's due them. And I think that's all that David is saying here. He's just wanting them to experience the pain that they're causing others. He wants them to experience it themselves. So it is a prayer for justice. Now, this phrase, heap burning coals, is interesting because the New Testament, quoting Proverbs 25, has very similar language, and only in this case, the prescription for treating your enemies is to give them things, show kindness, give them bread to eat. If he's thirsty, give him water to drink. So you do the unexpected thing. You show kindness to your enemies, and this will be like throwing fire on their head. They won't know what to do with it. It turns things around. So it's kind of a fascinating way to think about this prayer. David is really wanting bad things to happen to them, but perhaps the solution for that is to show them kindness, and in doing so, maybe lead them to repentance. Finally, the last two verses express David's confidence. He says, I know that the Lord will maintain the cause of the afflicted, and he will execute justice for the needy. Surely the righteous shall give thanks to your name. The upright shall dwell in your presence. So David concludes this lament as so many laments are concluded, and that is with trust, with confidence that God is just and God will take care of the afflicted. He has a special concern for the poor, the downtrodden, the oppressed, and he will see that they get justice, and so you can rest, you can dwell safely and securely in his presence.